In this video you will learn how to refute the Stafford Gambit. After the moves e4, e5, white can play knight f3, developing the king's knight and attacking the e5 pawn. Black can respond with knight f6, entering the Petrov defense. Black does not defend the e5 pawn but counterattacks against the e4 pawn. White can now capture the e5 pawn with his knight. Now, the most common move for black is to play d6, to force the white knight to retreat before capturing the e4 pawn. However, black can also play knight c6, sacrificing a pawn in order to accelerate the development of his pieces. White can retreat with the knight to play a quiet game, or he can accept the challenge by capturing on c6. After d takes c6, white's pawn on e4 is attacked. So, white must play carefully. For example, it is not good to advance the pawn with e5, since black responds with knight e4. And in case of d3, to expel the knight, black can play bishop c5 and is winning. Since if white captures the black knight, black plays bishop takes f2 check and wins. After king takes f2, black captures the white queen. And if white plays king e2, to keep his queen defended, black plays bishop g4 check, and then he can capture the white queen and wins. After the move d takes c6, white's best option is d3. Although they can also play knight c3, developing the queen's knight and defending the e4 pawn. Black can play bishop c5, with the idea of continuing with knight g4 and attacking against the f2 pawn. Now, it would be a mistake bishop e2, with the idea of controlling the g4 square, because black plays queen d4, threatening to give checkmate on f2. White can castle to avoid mate, but now black can capture the e4 pawn, to recover the material, or he can also play h5, with the idea of attacking the enemy king. Now, the move h3 is a mistake, because black plays knight g4 and is winning. After h takes g4. Black plays h takes g4 and is threatening queen e5 to mate on h2. White is completely defenseless and the white king will not be able to escape mate. After the move bishop to c5, white's best defense is h3, taking control of the g4 square. And in case of queen d4, threatening mate on f2. White can play queen f3, avoiding mate. White's plan is to continue with d3 and bishop e3, to castle on the queen side. Black can play bishop e6, completing the development of his minor pieces and preparing to castle on the long side. White can play d3. After black's long castling, white can play a3, then continue with bishop e3 and finally castle on the long side. White consolidates his position and will be able to assert his material advantage. After the move d takes c6, white can also play d3, defending the e4 pawn and allowing the development of the queen's bishop. Black can play bishop c5, and now it would be a serious mistake to play bishop g5, since black plays knight takes e4 and wins. After bishop takes d8. Black plays bishop takes f2 check, and after king e2, black plays bishop g4 checkmate. After the move bishop to c5, white's best option is bishop e2, developing the king's bishop, controlling the g4 square and preparing to castle. Now, the best move for black is knight g4, attacking against the f2 pawn. But white captures the black knight. Black can play queen h4, threatening mate on f2 and attacking against the bishop on g4. White responds with queen f3. And after bishop takes g4. White plays queen g3, with the idea of exchanging queens and repelling the attack. After queen h5, white can play h3, threatening to capture the g4 bishop. If black now plays bishop d1, white can play knight c3, developing the knight and attacking the enemy bishop. After bishop takes c2, white plays king d2 and the black bishop is trapped. After bishop takes d3. King takes d3. Black can castle long with check. But white plays king c2 and his king is perfectly safe. White has gained material and his advantage is evident. After the move h3, black can retreat his bishop to the e6 square. White can play queen takes g7, capturing a pawn and threatening to capture the h8 rook. Black can castle on the long side, to defend his rook and remove his king from the center. But white can play queen g5, attacking the queen and the bishop on c5. Black is forced to accept the exchange of queens. After queen takes g5. Bishop takes g5. The position has been simplified, white has won 2 pawns and has a clear advantage. In the following video we will study a very instructive master game in which we will be able to see how white easily refutes the Stafford Gambit.